what are the odds that this wouldn't fit in the mic stand? It is working, but it doesn't fit in the mic stand. Tape it, yeah. Bring the tape. The microphone won't fit in the mic stand. And go grab on I'll fix this up.
It's working. It's gonna roll right off. Hey. We're gonna have the same issue, I think. It won't adjust either.
We are live. 5, 4, 3, 2.
I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight and welcome you to our regular scheduled November 13th Oscoda Township Board meeting. If we could begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cummings? Here. Ms. McGuire?
Here.
Mr. Spencer? Mr. Taser?
Here.
Mr. Sutton here. Mr. Wusterbarth?
Present.
Mr. Palmer?
Here.
What is that? Background.
It's background conversation coming out
Yeah,
of the
what,
speakers.
what is the conversation we're hearing here?
Okay.
You've got the roll call? You done?
Yes.
Okay. The agenda, I have one, not really an addition. I'd like to move the Planning and Zoning Director, which is an informational, to the number 11, other.
Mr. Palmer, can I ask, why does that need to be moved as an agenda item? Ms. Klein has full authority to hire and fire per the resolution that we went over on September 11th, and from the board minutes from September 25th, that states that we concur with that.
Yeah, this is merely to set the salary.
She doesn't need it if it's within budget.
That's up for debate. Our plan is we will write a resolution that will clear that up.
I don't think we need that.
I think we do.
I think we do.
I don't think we need that. I have an agenda addition. I'd like to add postponement of the December 4th Planning Commission meeting to take place after the public hearing regarding Mr. Linderman and the ethics complaint.
reschedule the planning commission meeting.
As a board action, yes.
Okay. You want that under other, number 12?
I guess.
Why do you want to cancel the planning commission?
Based on the issues that have been uncovered and the evidence presented to this board, I think it's in the best interest of this township to postpone any further business on the planning commission until we settle the ethics issue.
Don't know why that would be, but are there things that need to get done?
Yeah, that would be number 12.
Does the planning commission have to come to a complete halt just because we've got this ethics investigation?
No, I don't think it's coming to a complete halt. I think what's happening is that until we have a public hearing to deal with the issue of the ethics report, it's in the best interest of the township to postpone that until a decision is made on that report.
But the committee can't meet, is what the postponement does, right? I mean, it just postpones
But the issue
meeting.
is that the chairman of the planning commission is the one that the ethics report is referencing.
Right, well, do we not have a vice chairman? Can you not hold a meeting without him? If you want to
But he's a
exclude
sitting
him?
chairman. You can't just remove him, say you can't run the meeting until, you just can't do that. That's why there's a public hearing to make the determination of the status of the chairman of the planning commission.
He only actually just runs the meeting. It's not like he sets the agenda.
The gentleman has a vote.
He does have a vote.
One vote.
Which could potentially put the township in liability.
Well, we have those two additions to the agenda.
Bill, excuse me,
Yes.
you also needed to add rescheduling of the public hearing.
I'm sorry.
Setting the date for
Rescheduling the
hearing.
public hearing.
Okay. That'd be number 13 under other?
Yes.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda with the additions?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the additions.
Support Cummings.
We have a motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Cummings. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth?
No.
Mr. Taser?
No.
Mr. Sutton, no. Mr. Palmer?
Yes. Motion passed. Well,
No.
no,
Nope, it fails.
it's tied.
It's a tie.
I would make a motion to amend the agenda for the following two items. The postponement of the planning commission to after the public hearing and rescheduling of the public hearing.
So you don't want to discuss the planning and zoning salary?
Nope, not required.
It is
I
required for
think
our
it
board
is.
protocol, actually.
It is not, Jamie.
It is.
We'll have that discussion. I'll be glad to have the discussion, but I'm not, my motion has been made.
I'd like to add an item, a possible OMA violation.
Under,
Number 14 or 13 or whatever you want to call it.
Open Meetings Act violation. Okay. We have Mr. Wisbar made a motion. Was there support?
I'll support that. Does that include the OMA?
I didn't amend my motion.
You did not amend your motion?
Nope.
Okay.
So we have a motion by Mr. Worcester, support by Mr. Taser.
Can we restate the motion, please?
You restate the motion, please.
Amend the agenda to include the rescheduling of the public hearing for the ethics complaint on Mr. Linderman, and to reschedule the public hearing from our special hearing. Tammy, what was the date of that?
I believe December 8th, right, Josh?
December.
The
No,
previous date or the current date?
the previous date we had the special hearing.
November 27th.
Postpone on the planning commission.
The postponement. Okay. So the postponement of the Planning Commission meeting to take place after the public hearing is concluded regarding Mr. Linderman and the Planning Commission. And the second item is to reschedule the public hearing because in our special meeting a few days ago, we tentatively scheduled it for November 27th, as long as the attorney and the board were available. And after that was made and supported and unanimously passed, we were informed by the attorney that there is no way, based on the publication for the public hearing, that we can manage the November 27th date. So I would like to have it stated that the reschedule will take place pending full board concurrence at that rescheduled meeting, as well as the attorney at the soonest possible date, so Tammy can coordinate that and get a notice out in the paper. Long motion.
That's still supported by Mr. Taser.
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
No.
Ms. McGuire?
No?
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Worcester?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes. Motion passed. Next up is the public hearing. I need a motion to go into the public hearing. I will make the motion to go into the public hearing.
Support.
A motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Worcester?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Palmer?
Yes, we are now in public hearing. This has to do with the Quarter Business District amendments. Are there any questions or concerns? Anyone in the audience have a comment on this amendment? We have a public hearing so that it's open to the public to make comments on this issue. If you have something you'd like to ask or say, now would be the time. This is an amendment to the Quarter Business District, which has gone through the Planning Commission, has been approved by the Planning Commission, and sent to the board for approval. If there's any questions, probably Mr. Taser could talk a little bit about this as our Planning Commission representative. First of all, does anyone have any questions about this at all? Comments? Questions?
So we weren't going to do it, and now we're doing it?
No, this is our second read. We had it
Okay.
on the agenda at a previous meeting. I don't really think the public hearing was necessary because usually they have a public hearing at the Planning Commission.
Oh.
So I really didn't know that it was necessary to have another public hearing on this. Typically, we don't, but since it's on our agenda, we're in a public comment.
Mr. Palmer, if I could just interject, the township attorney has advised us to do the ordinance amendments this way. That's why we had a public hearing.
So we should have two public hearings on amendments.
Yes, they have a public hearing at the planning commission level, and then the first read with the township, and then public hearing at the township board level
Okay.
as well.
All right. Okay, that clears that up. It was recommended by attorney, so that's what we're doing. If there are no other questions or comments, concerns, I would take a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved.
Support?
We have a motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Westerbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Teaser?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes. We are now out of public hearing. Next up is public comment. For this public comment, we ask that you fill out a comment card. Do we have any cards?
No, I do not.
Okay. Next up is the consent agenda. This is the minutes from the regular township meeting on October 23rd, the special meeting minutes from November 9th.
Yes. I do have a correction. It is on page 8 of the pack. At the top of the page, it talks about the possible rescheduling. Ms. McGuire supported a motion by me. It lists November 12th, 2023. Is that correct? That would have been that same day.
No, I did get a correction for that, and I did send the corrected minutes out earlier today.
I got it.
After our financial meeting.
Correcting.
You got
to
my email on that,
27th?
John?
Yes,
Correcting to the
I mentioned it
27th?
this morning as well.
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. There were some corrections made to the minutes. Mr. Sutton sent out to all the board members the corrections. So this includes the policy subcommittee meeting from November 2nd and the Charter Township Oscoda and Air Force meeting on November 7th. Were there any questions on any of those? We did get corrections. One comment I would like to say, and it's not a correction to the minutes. On the October 23rd, Mr. Sutton has it correct. I said during my committee reports from the airport that they were paving Bissonnet Road. Actually, it was Perimeter Road, and I misspoke. But that's what I did say, Bissonnet, and Mr. Sutton had that correct. I'd just like to apologize for the people on Bissonnet Road. If they thought they were getting their road resurfaced, I apologize. But it was Perimeter Road that the airport has resurfaced, and it's very nice. So, next is the payment of bills, totaling $200,232.09. Prepays for November 14th of $20,058.70. Check run for the Visa, October 26th, $4,331.63. Check run for the principal, October 30th, $846.84. Check run for October 31st, $63,260.34. And the check run for November 6th, $8,273.48. November 7th, check run, $103,461. The C2R2 payments, CWSRF payment, tax overpayments, the WWTLD, and the third quarter financial report to the township. Were there any questions on any of those activities? We went over all these at our finance committee meeting this morning, and we didn't find any. I had a couple of questions, just explanation questions on a couple of things, but everything was okay. If anybody has any other questions on any of the payment of bills, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
I have a motion by Mr. Taser, support by Mr. Wusterbarth. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next up is the superintendent's report. Ms. Klein?
The township, through the road commission, received a TAP grant for roughly $2 million for the Iosco Exploration Trail project. This grant requires an 80-20 split, with 20% being a local match, which has been met. Your packet contains an invoice from the road commission in the amount of $13,131.27. I would ask that, first of all, the board approve the payment of $13,131.27 towards the Iosco Exploration Trail to be paid to the Iosco County Road Commission from Fund 101-751-880.572. And secondly, approve appropriations to Fund 101-751-880.572 in the amount of $13,131.27.
Ms. Klein, where does the appropriation come from in step 2?
The appropriation would come from the general fund.
Oh,
Just for explanation, we've received multiple grants for this bike path. Of course, the largest was the TAP grant, which is administered by the Road Commission. We do have other grants which cover some of these costs. For instance, we did receive an MNRTF grant for $300,000. The problem is those grants, we have to pay the bill first and then send to the grant agency to receive the money. So we front the money and pay the bill and then submit it to the funding agency, and then they reimburse us. And then, of course, that money, if it comes out of the general fund, would go back into the general fund.
Yes,
correct?
there is a line item
Yes.
for that.
So, any other questions, comments on that? I will make a motion to approve paying invoice to the Iosco County Road Commission in the amount of $13,131.27 for the Iosco Exploration Trail to be paid from Fund 101-751-880.572.
Support, Sutton?
We have a motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. To follow up, I will make a motion to make appropriations to Fund 101-751-880.572 in the amount of $13,131.27.
Support?
Motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Wurstabar,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Palmer.
Yes, motion passed. Next is the row invoice.
Yes, and this will follow down those same lines. Your packet contains a previously approved invoice from Rowe Engineering for services rendered for the Oscoda Exploration Trail. This invoice requires appropriations in order to be paid, which was overlooked at the time of approval for payment, which I believe was the last meeting in July. And through a process with Rick, he had listed out some invoices that we had missed. Therefore, I'm bringing this back to the board to ask for appropriations for Fund 101-751-880.572 in the amount of $44,127.50 to provide payment to Rowe Engineering.
Questions? Comments?
Where's that coming from?
That'll be the general fund also.
This is also for the IET.
Okay.
So it's part of the grant
Same
funding.
Okay.
I just have a question, Tammy.
Yes.
As far as the invoices and how they got missed, is it something that was delayed from Rowe, or is it something administratively within?
No,
our
just
control?
administratively. We missed it. So
How did we miss it?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. And the only thing I can do is just make sure we keep up with it.
Okay.
Well, we approved paying the invoice.
Yes.
We just didn't make the appropriation, which we should have done at the same time, which we missed.
So it was just a
We
board
would-
action. We didn't do the appropriation so they could. pay the
Right,
bill.
the board
So
already,
it was included with when she made the payment made.
I missed the payment.
Now I understand.
Getting put in,
Okay,
so.
thank you.
any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the appropriations to Fund 101-751-880.572 in the amount of $44,127.50 to provide payment to the Rowe Engineering.
Support.
And just to be clear, that was invoice number 109192, just for your information. We have a motion by Mr. Taser, support by Mr. Wusterbarth. Roll call, please.
Mr. Taser,
Yes.
Mr. Wurstabar,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Palmer.
Yes, motion passed. Next is the CWSRF.
Okay, so your packet contains a proposal from Rowe Engineering for the upcoming 2024 CWSRF, which stands for Clean Water State Revolving Fund. Application and construction design. Details for the design process have been listed out in the proposal along with the total cost, which includes the application process, construction design, and bid process. The total cost proposed for design engineering services for the 2024 CWSRF is $882,400. I would ask that the board consider the proposal submitted by Rowe Engineering for the 2024 CWSRF application and design services and the amount of $882,400.
Questions? Yes.
Rick, so we're not going to have to pay that up front? How is that going to work? Is it going to work like the other CWSRF where we pay a few and then we do for the reimbursements process again, or do we have to come up with that $800,000?
Unfortunately on this, because of the timing, this is for the design services for the $17 million program that we've been awarded. We're going to have to start designing it, and the township will need to start paying that. And I've given Tammy the budget numbers to include in her 2024 budget, because we won't be able to close on the loan until probably in June or July, and then start requesting reimbursement at that time. But by that time, to get to the closing, we have to have final plans, and we have to have a bid from the contractor. So to to ask Roe to front $882,000, I don't think would be appropriate, but like I said, I've given those monies, that program to Tammy for her 2024 budget. But we'll be able to submit, theoretically, an $882,000 reimbursement request in June or July and get that right back right away. So, unfortunately, that's the way the timing just works out on this.
So where do we plan on getting that money from?
I was hoping when we have our budget work session, we can try and go over those.
Probably the sooner the better, because
the
it
last
sounds like
two.
it's going to have to come out of investment money.
Right. Well, and that's my last two for budget, basically. Those are the two hardest ones. So
Okay.
that'll be real soon. So.
And just to be clear on what this project is, it's upgrading the pump stations, the other pump stations that we didn't do in the last program that are just wrapping up.
Correct.
The pump stations that were left over, and they're all listed here, we're taking those on in this phase.
Pump stations, and then with the pump stations then complete, we're going to be taking on there's several force mains within the township.
Yes.
That need to be replaced, or significant repair. And then also the PFAS treatment mechanism that we're going to be putting in out at the lagoon site. For any new PFAS coming in from the waste stream, we'll be able to treat it there and remove it so we don't add any to the historic PFAS contamination that's out there.
Okay, and will we be looking at that treatment system a little more? Because
Yeah.
I've learned recently that that type of treatment system may not be appropriate for what we have.
I don't believe that's the case, and actually Dave Richmond and myself, along with the sub-consultant that Roe has brought on for this, we're actually going to go see a demonstration of it already in place and operational on December 6th over in Grand Rapids.
Okay,
So,
okay.
so after that, we will be able to come back and give a presentation to the board as far as how that will be implemented in Oscoda and how it will work.
How that will work. Okay,
Yeah.
very good. Very good.
Rick, just what's the basic premise of that system?
It's basically it treats the PFAS coming in and collects it in a foam, and then the foam then is treated and disposed of much more effectively, cost effectively than like a GAC system or anything like that. It's very user friendly, very maintenance friendly, and very effective based on the information that was provided and also reviewed and approved by Eagle. So I can't give you much more detail than that because that's not my area of expertise, but Dave Richmond and such, like I said, after that demonstration, we'll be back to give a presentation to the board before any of that is enacted.
Okay, thank you.
And where is it you're getting it that's in effect now?
It's some township treatment facility over in the Grand Rapids area. I'm not exactly sure where.
Okay.
So we're going over for a site visit and seeing how it all works and bringing back that information.
Okay, very good. Any other questions, comments?
Would it be possible to, if the board would like, hold on to these, do we have time to hold on to these until the budget work session, until after? Would that be more appropriate? Can we do that?
You want to postpone the vote on this?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, to meet Eagle's schedule, they will need to get started on this in the month of December.
No, we would have it way before that.
Okay, and really, if they get started on the month of December, you wouldn't start seeing invoices until probably the end of January.
Till
Okay.
when?
End of
End
January.
of January would be the first round of invoices coming in.
So we won't have to write a check for 880,000. We will be.
Oh, yeah, it'll be
invoices as it-
invoiced just like we've been doing the other ones on a monthly
Right.
basis and all that stuff. It's just that we have to complete the design so it can go out for bid probably in the March, April timeframe. receive bids, have Eagle review that, and then close on the loan, like I said, in the June, July timeframe. And then once it's closed, then we can start making disbursement requests. So,
Okay. What's the board pleasure? Do you want to postpone this? Do you want to approve it? I think we know what we'll have to do at the
Is it going to change it?
at the budget work session.
Right now, is it intended to just come out of the general fund at this point? Do we have enough? I don't have my
Nope.
budget in front of me right now.
We don't. No, we need to go over that.
So I guess probably
Yes.
postpone to the next meeting?
It would, like Ms. McGuire said, it would have to come out of some of our investment money that we have invested.
But do you have any CDs that are ready to be cashed?
Well, if I would have had that information for the meeting, I could have looked that up. I'll be glad to look tomorrow. I do have some from MBI class that I can move on a daily basis. I want to say maybe that's close to input 7. So we can cover the first one, but I'm not sure how soon the second one. I guess when we start talking about the GWF in 2024.
It'll be the end of January, it would be the first payment.
Yep, and actually, I think we'll have to reach out to the CPA, because I think some of those are all general fund, but they're not all dedicated to water sewer. So I think we can move that around, as long as the bottom
Okay.
line doesn't change, but that's something we'd have to check with Lisa.
So I guess we should postpone this then, and we can discuss it at our work session for our budget work session.
Could we postpone all three, CWSRF, DWSRF, and the downtown water main design until the next meeting?
Yeah, because the same thing will apply, right?
Yes.
I'll check that in the morning.
So that's what
I didn't want to, but it has to happen.
So I'll make a motion to postpone the decision on the CWSRF proposal from Rowe.
Support?
A motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Worcester?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. We will postpone that. And
Just before we make a motion, just a quick question on this, Rick. For the DWSRF, are we going to be looking at the same payment schedule? Will
correct,
that be-
yes, the CWSRF and the DWRF will be on the same schedule. Fourth, like I said, June, July closing for that. And then the other one, the downtown water main, is the Peters grant. And that one will probably come in sooner. That one will be able to start requesting reimbursement on that, I'm hoping in the February, March timeframe. I've actually got a phone meeting with the EPA grant coordinator on Thursday.
So going through with that one, that would be for our downtown water main, that's going through the Senator Peters?
Yes,
So
yep.
that would all be reimbursable?
That's all, yes, reimbursable, yes.
All right. That's $500,000, not
so I will make a motion to postpone the DWSRF proposal from Rowe.
Support?
A motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Worcester?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next is the downtown water main. Now, under the Peters grant, we can, once we start doing that, we can apply for the $3 million, right?
That's what we're in the process of doing right now, working with the grant coordinator. As I said, I've got a phone call with him on Thursday to go over what the next steps are. We have the work plan done, we have the estimate done. Obviously, we have the design proposal in front of us. And then basically, he has to open up the grant number for us to get in and put in our information. We've got our new UEI number, which is the old SAM number. We've got all that information. We just got to have him open it up for us to put in the information, and then he said, I think it's about a 6 to 8 week time frame to get that all in and approved. And then once that's approved, then we can start asking for reimbursement. And part of the work that we're doing down on River Road now will be able to be pushed through on that also for reimbursement.
So do we need to postpone this, or can we move forward with this and front whatever money we need as it goes along and then request reimbursements, kind of like we do with the C2R2?
I would hold off and do it.
Okay.
I would, until I know exactly how the disbursement or reimbursement's going to work. I'd rather hold off and just tackle all three of these at your next meeting.
Okay. All right. So I will make a motion to postpone the downtown water main project.
Support?
Motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Westerbarth. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wishbar?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next is the pay request.
Okay, your packet contains the first pay request in the Phase 6 water main project in the amount of $28,148.40, leaving a total of $1,580,382.60 remaining on the project. I would ask that the board consider approving the first pay request from Schaff and Associates Construction in the amount of $28,148.40 to be paid from the C2R2 funds after reimbursement is requested and deposited into the township's account.
Questions? Concerns? Anybody?
No.
No? Do I have a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the first pay request from Shop and Associates Construction Incorporated in the amount of $28,148.40 to be paid from the C2R2 funds after reimbursement is requested and deposited into the township's account.
Support?
We have a motion by Mr. Sutton, support by Mr. Westerbarth. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wishbar?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next up is the resolution for the corridor business district amendments, which is what we had the public hearing for. Are there any questions or concerns? Or do I have a motion?
I move that we approve amending the corridor business district to include vehicle fuel stations as submitted.
Support?
I have a motion by Mr. Taser, support by Mr. Westerbarth. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wishbar?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next is the engineering contract. Mr. Freeman, any questions, comments on this? I think he's been doing a fantastic job for the township. I think he's been taking on way more that we've been handing him than what was anticipated in the beginning. But we have a lot of projects going on here in Oscoda, and he's been helpful on all of them. So
He's well exceeded his part-time status.
yes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the amendment to the agreement.
Support, Cummings.
We have a motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Cummings. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes, thank you, Rick.
Mr. Wishbar?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Palmer?
Yes. And again, thank you, Rick, for everything you do for the township.
Thank you very much.
Next is the Planning Commission reappointment. Ms. Hopcroft has requested renewing her membership on the Planning Commission. She's been doing a good job on there. Any questions, comments, the board?
I have a comment.
Okay.
I'd like to state that Ms. Upcroft has brought a high level of expertise to the Planning Commission, and I really appreciate her professionalism. I have to say that she's a good addition to the Planning Commission. I thank her for her service.
She's very thorough on,
Yes.
on all the revisions and everything, does all the punctuation and
Not to
word
mention the pro bono
corrections.
work doing on our language, on our ordinances.
Yes, yes. So I will make a motion, I'll move to reappoint Ann Victoria Hopcroft to the Planning Commission effective 1/1/24 through 12/31/26.
Support.
Was that Steve?
Bob.
Bob.
When was that through?
Through 12/31/26. She's on a 3-year term. I have a motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Taser. Roll call, please.
Mr. Westerbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. I look forward to having Ms. Hopcroft on the Planning Commission for another 3 years, hopefully. Next is a legal services regarding slander/libel discussion. I believe this was requested by Mr. Westerbarth. Would you like to explain what this is, please?
Yes, I believe I brought this up at the September 11th meeting, and I asked Tammy to actually make an agenda item on this. As elected officials, there's really nothing we can do, I'll say, with public media, social media, comments from the public, unless they're threatening or something along that lines. I've been keeping a list, and kind of a good file of what's going on here. As far as Ms. Klein is concerned, she is an employee of the township. She is not an elected official. She has a professional reputation that needs to be upheld at all costs, and she's liable for doing that on her own regard. But we as employers of her also have a responsibility in my mind. When the comments are false, misleading, turn into slander and libel against allegations against Ms. Klein. We just had this come up with some of this has come up in our ethics investigation, and also included Mr. Taser with comments from the public on social media as well as the paper. And there's a number of other ones that, to me, create the litmus test of libel and slander that have been done in both social media and the public paper, based on comments against Ms. Klein and her performance, etc. So I would like to ask this board to allow Ms. Klein to obtain legal counsel and have her at least have a discussion with an attorney to come back to this board on what type of case she may have. And I would like this board to authorize funds for her to have that initial meeting for an opinion from an attorney, because I believe her reputation has been falsely damaged, and I would like to see this at least looked at from an attorney's point of view, especially in an employer-employee relationship, and what responsibility we have as a township board to protect them.
I'd like to start and say that, first of all, the posturing of Ms. Klein as an employee is incorrect. She is a contractor. She may be employed by the township, and we might use that term employee very loosely to include her, but she is a contractor. I think that the township
Tim,
owes it to her.
does she receive a W-2 or a 1099?
She is, per contract, a contractor. She has a contract.
But she receives a W-2, and in the eyes of the federal government, she is an employee. We went through this with our EIC director on the difference of contractor and employee. The difference is W-2 or 1099. Yes, she has an employment contract, but she still is a W-2 employee. Is that not correct, Mr. Sutton? She receives a W-2?
Yes. I think we owe it to her to do the best we can to get the truth out there for whatever decisions we make, whatever we as a township have decided to do, and make sure that the public is aware of it. But I don't believe that we owe her as a contractor, as a contract employee.
I disagree with your
protection.
language there. But
Well, that's the way you stated it, that we don't owe it to her. That if she insists that her, as someone who is being contracted for her services as a public administrator, if she feels as though something is being, if she's being libeled or slandered, that it can be on her to handle that with the public.
Okay, I disagree with that
Of
in the
course.
definition of contracted employee or contract employee. There is a clear definition there. And the difference with the IRS, again, is either a W-2 or a 1099. If you're a W-2 employee, you are an employee of the township. Appreciate the comments, I disagree.
Understood. She is not a pure employee in the same way that a planning and zoning administrator is an employee. And certainly not in the same position. She's a public figure and very much a political figure that is empowered by a resolution that transfers the authorities and various powers from the supervisor to her, but not all of them, but many of them. So she makes political decisions, some of which we don't have an immediate say about in this board. She subjects herself to criticism in the public by her actions and her decisions. That is not entirely our responsibility.
And that's fair, the difference being we are elected and she is not.
Fine?
I still get a W-2.
Yeah, I do too.
Me too.
Does that make me an employee?
In the rules of the
In
IRS,
the IRS, yes.
So then I should have asked for legal counsel when I was being harassed? And you guys would have paid for it instead of going out for it on my own? Good to know.
I would like to state that the difference here is that right at the very podium down here, Ms. Klein, I was too, but Ms. Klein was accused of illegal acts.
I was.
And I also want to say that I don't know if the word political decisions is a proper word. I would say that she has made administrative decisions. And in her position, that's what she is the top administrator. So putting the words political in there, I don't think that's the proper term. I think she was making administrative decisions. And because of those administrative decisions, she was falsely accused of crimes. And I think we need to protect our employees. I was accused of the same crime. I'm not asking for anything.
Right. Well, I disagree. I think that that's part of the job that you're doing. She gets paid a lot of money to do her job, and with that comes the good and the bad. I mean, same with all of our positions, the same thing. It's the good and the bad, you take it with her. If she wants to pursue it on her own, then by all means, but I don't think we should be using taxpayer money to do that.
It's hard not to consider or see that someone who is in the position of the most senior authority over the township second only to the Board of Trustees, wouldn't be making decisions that could be viewed as political by some people in the community. I think I can't even get my head wrapped around how that could possibly be.
Historically, I mean, look at historically, honestly, the past superintendents and the decisions that they've had to make were very political, absolutely. So this isn't any different. They took a lot of
I think
heat
it was
too.
administrative.
Well, administrative decisions can be political ones too, because someone might choose to agree with it or disagree with it, and it might be a decision that has some sort of a political connotation in the purest sense of politics, whether it be party related or someone who disagrees with the spending of that money, somebody who, whatever. That is the nature of it. You're dealing with public opinion. And
Right.
so,
Thick skin.
yeah, I don't know how else you get around it.
Well, I disagree when the terms illegal activity, false narrative, corruption, unethical behavior, a lot of these statements have damaged her personal reputation, which are unfounded and untrue. And it just keeps with false accusations and misinformation. But it's primarily tainted at Ms. Klein by a group of, I'll say, 6 to 8 people. So I disagree. I'd like to pursue it, and I'd really like to get an attorney's opinion through Ms. Klein on if there's a case here or not to pursue in a court of law.
So is the
I think that's a conflict of interest, actually.
Can you repeat that, Jamie? I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you.
Oh, I said, I think that's a conflict of interest.
Yeah. I mean, are we literally asking to spend township dollars for her to go and bring slander libel suits against residents?
Yes.
I mean, it just, my gosh, are we really trying to say that without saying
I'm
it?
trying to protect an employee, and if it involves getting to a court of law, I'm willing to do that.
Well, I think some of the decisions
Because
that
I'd
might
like
be
to have all
causing
the liars in
trouble,
the same place.
some of the decisions
in
that
front
might
of a
be
judge.
causing trouble might be decisions that she's made. People may not like
Don't need
it.
the outburst from the public, please. This is board discussion at this point in time. Public comment will be later.
I mean, it sounds like we're using money against our own constituents who have the right to express their opinion. Now, agreed, if they're misinformed, that's unfortunate, but it may or may not be construed as the severity that is often characterized in the First Amendment abuse of, like, you can't go into a movie theater and scream fire, when there isn't one. That isn't proper First Amendment right.
I understand
And
that,
so,
Tim.
but
The
here
bar
what I'm
for
saying-
slander and libel slander being much higher, has to be met.
One is written and one is verbal. I mean, it's like, so my point here is, I mean, I literally cannot see us getting into the business of policing the thoughts, beliefs, statements, and rhetoric of people on social media with an attorney behind it. I'm sorry, I feel like that is just unconscionable in my mind. I can't get my head around it. It's such a violation, and yet, you're protecting one in order to violate the freedom of speech for many. I don't get that.
I'm not
well, you
looking
can
to
say 6
violate
or
the
8, it
freedom of
doesn't
speech
matter.
in any way, Tim. I'm looking to protect rights of an employee. And in my mind, she is an employee. That's my opinion based on the reading of the law that I read. That's simply all I'm trying to do here.
Well, at that point, I just feel like now we're just sort of sitting here and what do we got? A bunch of thugs going after our constituents. What do we do? Do we literally
Was
now?
that directed at me, that comment?
It's a rhetorical statement.
Okay, I just want to
It's a
clarify that.
rhetorical, or question, I should say. It's like, what are we doing? It's like, does this degrade to us, erecting stockades, pillories, and whipping posts on the lawn of Township Hall to somehow avenge libel slander for our superintendent? I don't get that. I don't get that. It seems completely not the solution. I don't get the extremity of this. I'm sorry, Steve, I just disagree utterly.
I disagree with you.
I understand. Cheers.
Any other comments?
I guess, Ms. Klein, I'd like to hear from you.
As far as,
Give the board your opinion.
well, first of all, I would like to state for the record that the one instance in particular was not brought on by anything that I had done, period. That was stated because of a planning commission action, that all I did was put the attorney in. And I was accused of terrible things, criminal activity, collusion, that I did not deserve, and that damages me. Now, I didn't ask Mr. Wuscherbarth to have this item put on the agenda. It was not anything I had ever asked for. And the current situation with Mr. Linderman is a prime example of false information that has gone everywhere, not just social media, but it is in the paper. It has gone everywhere. And why? You can go right down the list of that letter and point out every single instance where there is false information, right down to the improper citing of the site plan review, because it was a special land use permit. There's a lot of things, I don't care. Social media is social media. That's what it is. But when you have someone that comes to a public board meeting and questions my integrity, I think it should be addressed. I'm not saying that I think the board should do that for me, but I do take it very insulting for you to say that I brought that on myself.
Well, I didn't specifically bring out that example as that.
I was looking out for the township's best interest, and I did as the attorney had directed me to. And that's what I got for it, was I was committing criminal acts, which were supposed to be exposed, and nothing ever came of it. Not one word. And that I find to have damaged me quite a bit, because it's everywhere. It's not just here, it's all over. With help of the paper as well, it's also out there on record as well. So that's just my opinion on it.
Thank you. And it should not happen. If there's an issue, we have a meeting, the public can come here, be glad to address it as a board, as you report to this board.
I'm actually, as a board member, given that I attend the board meetings, vast number of them, I watch my email, attend special meetings well, most of them as well again, and certainly the ones most recently. And I don't see that we, again, as my point earlier, what as a township have we done to try to make sure that the truth was actually communicated? To the example that I'm not entirely familiar with, that Ms. Klein is referencing, I go more to the generality that you're pointing out, Steve, that we have a responsibility to make sure we communicate the truth. What is going on? So aside from someone coming out and saying blah, 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 what was said to correct the blah, blah, blah just as publicly as the blah, blah, blah was stated? It's just, what are we doing on this? And I think that's what I can honestly say. I don't see that, and because I don't see it, I don't understand how this suddenly turns into a legal matter. I don't think that we've taken sufficient responsibility for communicating the information that needs to be communicated. I don't think that that's, I think that's it. I think that's the simplicity of it.
I would like to state something. Mr. Cummings is addressing some of the things that we did make statements. We released a press release involving allegations, and when that press release came out, it hit social media that I had something to do, right, that Mr. Woosterbarth had something to do, and Ms. Klein had something to do with writing that press release. That's a falsehood that is out, and people believe that, and it's stated over and over and over. At the time it was stated at the Planning Commission meeting, Ms. Klein stated publicly, this was written by the attorney. And it still was not believed, and it still spread it out there. It was still in the press. It's still out there in social media that the three of us had something to do with writing it, which would be the farthest thing from the truth. And that is damaging. That is falsehoods. How do you combat that? When you put out a press release and they still put it out even in the press that it's not true. There is a letter to the editor by an Oscoda Township resident that states the very thing, that it's criminal, that it's, and I can quote it, who stands to gain from this power play? Why? Has someone promised something from the township that will benefit a business or property owner? Has the township been treating businesses unequally? This is highly unethical, if not illegal. I say both. That was printed in the paper. That's a false statement, false accusations. Nothing about that is true. The same letter that was in there talked about our bylaws, false information, about the chain of command, false information, and it was printed in the press, and yet we put out a press release, and this is the kind of things that go into the paper. This is it. This is what was, that was, I'm not making that up, it was there. Letter to the editor. So, how do you stop that? When you put out the truth, and they combat the integrity of our attorneys that are putting out the release. It goes so far that we have to have an ethics, third-party independent ethics council opinion. Are they going to believe that? You know, there's statements in here with evidence. Proof of evidence, proof, over and over and over. And you put it out there. Does this get printed? No. But they'll stand there at a podium, or they'll stand there in a press and call us criminal. When does it stop?
I'm sorry, I have to laugh at you people. In my previous board tenure, Bill was there. Jamie, you've been there more times than me. I've had to sit here and listen to people at the podium say things that were absolutely not true. I've been upbraided by Steve himself twice in the previous board, coming to the podium and claiming that, you know, we were negligent as trustees, that we should have, you know, somehow gotten to the bottom of some illegality and Jamie should have been gone by now, blah, blah, blah. And I look at this and I go, we've all been the subject of this, and it may not be right.
We're elected.
In some cases, absolutely, we are. Absolutely, we are. But I'm still hearing Bob kind of beat his chest about it. I feel bad for you. Believe me, I've been there too. Get to go through an election. That's a real fun time as well. So I'm saying more to the point here that this is a political venue here. And Ms. Klein has chosen to become a public administrator. She represents this township. And as a result, there's a certain amount of baggage that comes with it. And, you know, Oscoda is known for being transparent about their emotions.
Well, Tim, I appreciate your opinion. I disagree. I think we need to protect our employees, and she's an employee, not an elected official. So we can agree to disagree, but I'm going to default to protecting the employees.
Well, Mike, I've been listening to the conversation here, and my comment would be that the laws regarding libel and slander are very clear. It's not what transpires on social media, I don't think would be a cause for legal action, but things that are printed in a newspaper could be. Now, I'm not going to speak on the legalities of it. I think that's an attorney could look at the evidence here and determine whether or not Ms. Klein has a cause of action in terms of libel or slander. If that's the case, I think she should pursue that, because as you say, an administrator or a superintendent or possibly in the future a city manager, some other position that she may be looking for, moving on in the future, this could come back to hurt her credentials if it's not dealt with, and I think it should be dealt with. And I think that only an attorney can advise her on what her next course should be. And so I guess the question is, do we provide that attorney for her, or does she get an attorney on her own? Somebody could suggest an attorney. I think generally attorneys will take a case based on whether or not they can, what they can win from that case. I would like to see her pursue this. If it meets the requirements under the law for libel or slander, then the way to correct it is to pursue that so that it doesn't happen anymore. I think the township could probably put her in touch with an attorney, and then she can take it from there. I don't think it's a cause of action that the township should get involved with to any large extent, because if there is a case, if an attorney says she has a case and they pursue it and win, she would get legal damages, which means she would receive money. But I think she should consult an attorney to see whether or not she actually has a cause of action. So,
I am not at all opposed to independent counsel at her expense. It's her interests that she needs to protect.
Yes.
I understand that.
I have a question to Tim's point as far as what we've done. Would it be best place for us to run these findings in the newspaper? I mean, unfortunately, some people turn theirs in and it becomes news for free, but would that be an avenue of getting it out like a public notice? So the conclusion and findings from the report, as well as that press release, and run it for the people?
Yeah, I guess I thought that it had been, it was only just presented at the board meetings?
Yes.
Well, so a lot of people don't even watch
Yeah.
that, so.
Yep.
Yeah, they don't come here or go
Right.
to YouTube, they'll just go to Facebook and see what's out there.
Right, or the paper, they'll read the paper.
I mean,
Yeah.
how do we do that as a board? How do we take action to correct the misinformation out there? Is that an avenue that us as a board needs to take at this point? If people are going to continue to put that out, do we continue to put out the findings that we as a board get on these matters? And that way it's out in the newspaper.
Right, public hearing.
We have a public hearing, and that's what we're going to be scheduling, is a public hearing to get that information out.
Well, and it was just when we were talking about
released, and so far, I know copies are out there, but whether it's going to be published or not, I don't know, but I know this is going to be discussed in detail during a public hearing.
Well, I'm just asking because we do have the ability to pay to put it in like a notice like we do for tax notices, election, and everything else. And then we could choose the time to run that. I
think it's a bad
understand
idea.
the point is we have the information, how do we get it out there? And it sounds like the most basic thing we need to do is correct the misinformation. And if we can get, I mean, if we're paying for the ad in the paper, you can put in word for word the press release and the conclusion that were provided from the attorney. And you can pay for the status of where you want that in the paper so that the citizens get it. It's out there. It's in the
Well,
paper.
To get back on the topic of the legal services regarding slander on libel, Mr. Westerbarth, you brought this up. Do you have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to authorize $4,000 for Tammy to obtain legal counsel to give an opinion on the report, see if she does have a case or something.
Support.
We have a motion by Mr. Westerbarth, support by Mr. Taser. Roll call, please.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Westerbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
No,
Mr. Cummings?
No.
Mr. Sutton? Say yes. Mr. Palmer?
What did you say, I'm sorry?
I didn't
Yes.
hear. Calling on me?
Yes.
Yes. Motion passed.
No. Yes.
Next is the break time policy. We've gone over this in our policy committee.
so I thought we were changing that to part of the handbook.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah, it was just listed that way. It's just gonna be an amendment to the handbook for what we went over in the policy committee.
I think what's in the
So it'll be-
packet, it shows what the current policy is. The new employees have to sign acknowledging this, and the idea is it was basically the same thing, rewritten in a different format, which will go into the handbook, which they have to acknowledge, so
Yeah, and then they'll
everything
just
will
have
be.
the acknowledgement on the last page of the handbook instead of 14 documents individually provided for signature.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns on that? Do I have a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the revision of the break time policy.
Support?
We have a motion by Mr. McGuire, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Worstebarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed.
Excuse me, Mr. Palmer, who supported that last one?
Josh, Mr. Sutton. Next is the hours of operation from the Township Hall.
And hours of operation, we went over in the policy subcommittee, and this was actually talking with Mr. Palmer probably for the last 6 months in regard to township hours and having time in the day as far as counting down cash, wrapping up FOIA requests, seeing emails. So the Township Hall would be open 9 to 4 to the public every day, except when required by law and excluding township holidays. And then also, that would mean elections, taxes, things of that nature. Me and Jamie get special time to be there above and beyond, so.
Yes.
And that would change the 9 to 4 so that in the morning we would all work our 8 hours, but you would have an hour in the morning. If you came in at 8 o'clock to address anything you needed to in the morning before we opened up to the citizens. And then if you were working your 8 hours as a 9 to 4, you would be there until 5, but at 4 o'clock when we closed, then you would have an hour to address any of the things we need to do. Just to try to attempt to avoid some of the overtime and other things we have, like in Treasury, if people are coming and making payments right up till 5, they still have to count that drawer down, so they're getting out of there 6:30. If we have anybody coming in for any kind of services end of day, it just puts a lot of us back that have things that have to be put up and balanced out before we leave every day.
The other point that I was making in this whole and I take responsibility, I kind of started this whole thing, was to give our employees some options during the winter and bad weather, when people that have families, children, they have to make arrangements for, to be able to get in here to the township at 8 o'clock in the morning in inclement weather can be a problem. And I know this, not my personal, but my children, grown children, my grandchildren's parents have those problems in the wintertime when the roads are bad and trying to get into work on time, dealing with the weather and the children and everything else. So this would give them some flexibility as opposed to having to be here at 8 o'clock, the option to not have to be here till 9 o'clock. And then they would stay till 5 to get their 8 hours with a half-hour unpaid lunch. So they would still be getting their 8 hours, but give them some option to work from 8 to 4 or from 9 to 5.
I have a question, and it has more to do with the implementation of this within a given office, like let's say the treasurers or the clerks, where you have 2 people. So how does that work? I mean, does that mean then that, well, there's enough coverage between the 2 people? Because it kind of doesn't matter whether they're starting early or staying late. I mean, I don't know how this is trying to work out. So you 2 weigh in. How do you see this working out?
I think that, well, I'm not exactly 100% for it. I'm going to just tell you that right now.
Okay.
I feel like we are township employees and we should be there 8 to 5 to represent, to answer questions. That's what we're there for. That's what we're supposed to be there for. I have a lot of people that call. I have from 4 to 5. I've had several people from Coletta reach out to me and say that, we don't even get out of work till 4 o'clock. How am I supposed to come pay my taxes? And they like to pay in cash and they don't want to put it in the drop box. Tammy mentioned putting a drop box on the side of the building, but maybe that some people might be more comfortable using that. I'm not opposed to that. I mean, if this passes, obviously we need to figure something out to accommodate those people. This last week I've had several people that say, hey, I work in Tawas, I don't get out till 4. They're not even going to be here. And I'll tell you, I know that there's been days that we've been closed and I've been at work anyways. People will come knock on the door. Oh, I seen your truck out there. Can you keep my water payment for me? So it's like, what do? You don't want to. And then there's shut-off days. There's people that get their water shut off if they're not paid by, a certain time, or they got their water shut off and they need to get it turned on, but they don't get out of work till 4 o'clock. So then they're going to be without water for 2 days? I mean, I know it's an adjustment for people, but just in my mind, I feel like that we should be there for the public. So I don't know how that is going to work for my office if it passes. I'll just say I know that we're busy enough during our peak times, which is quite a few. There's only a few months that we're really doing things to get like refiling and doing cleanup stuff and getting prepared for the next year. But we're going to be busy. We'll still probably be working 8 to 5, so most of the days.
Okay. And Josh?
Yeah, and for mine, that's why I said outside those times. Same thing for election. We're bound to those times that are put in by the state, so we're there 8 to 5, as well as like our weekends, extended hours to 8 p.m. for voter registration. So that would not hinder mine or Jamie for those times taking tax payments and everything. We would still be, according to statute, we would be there, our times based on that, outside of normal hours of operation for everybody else.
How is that going to affect the rest of the, I'm sorry, Tim.
No, go for it.
How is that going to affect the rest of the buildings for the township?
Yeah.
Is that going to affect anybody else, or is it just Township Hall?
Well, like the utilities department.
Yeah, the
or-
utilities department won't change their hours?
No, I've spoken to Kath, and we would work it out, either way. But it's a benefit, believe it or not. I mean, nobody wants to hear that it's a benefit to be able to get your work done uninterrupted, but it is. And as far as shut-offs are concerned, we don't shut off on Fridays. We actually give till noon the next day. We don't turn on after 3:30 because the guys are all gone. So even if they got out at 4, they still would not have their water turned on. The drop box, I think we should do anyway, regardless of if it passes or not. And I've asked Bill to talk to you to see what you would like. because I think, I know there are some people who would rather see their money go in your office, you know, right, and that would be a tray that would go directly into your office.
Right.
So people could pay that way. And I honestly think this would be great for the employees. Everyone has been asked. Everyone is thrilled about the possibility. If you look at the county's hours, they're 8:30 to 4:30, and they close for an hour. And I mean closed. You
Oh,
don't
yeah.
get in, no work is done, nothing.
No phone calls,
Can't even
nothing.
get
Yes,
to at 4:31.
they don't do anything
So-
in that hour,
So when we are closed from, if we're closed from 8 to 9, we're only open to the public from 9 to 4, so we're not answering our phones from 8 to 9 or 4 to 5 also.
No, you can, I mean, you can do however you want to set it up for yourself. Answering emails for some people is difficult, especially if your phone's ringing a lot. I go through periods myself where if I don't shut my door, I get nothing done. And it's nice for some people to be able, even utility billing, to be able to have that hour to catch up, because you will have people that'll say, you know, if she's on her phone all day, they'll say, well, I called you and you didn't answer. But that would be her time to answer those messages, call people back, do things like that. And it would be your own creation of what you would do in that hour, as long as it's work. So,
Will that affect the police department as well?
no, I have actually asked Chief Bolin to figure out what he would like to do as his office, so.
And what of your assistant?
What about her?
Would this apply to her as well?
Yes, that
Okay.
applies to everybody.
Fair enough. Okay, so at that point, from the viewpoint of the exterior, the public, they wouldn't see one way or the other a difference because they wouldn't be in the building as early as 8 anyway, and the doors would be closed by 4.
Right.
So, I see, okay. I guess my only comment to the board in response to this suggestion is that I think we are shaving off hours of service, and I understand the concern about needing to get the work done, but I'm not sure how to really, if this really makes up for it, because I think we're making ourselves unavailable. A lot of people work during the day. Day jobs are not uncommon. So if we can't give them at least an option in the morning or an option in the afternoon, then I think we're making ourselves hard to reach. I don't know, it's just my opinion.
Well, people have an option between the hours of 9 and 5, or 9 and 4.
Yeah,
I think we're just looking
and
kind
they
of
can-
like the same thing we do with our assessor. I mean,
Right,
there are things that change, but specifically, like my office, getting FOIAs done. FOIAs have to go out by that day. If I'm servicing customers in my office until 5 o'clock,
right.
you know what I mean, then
I do.
I'm bound to stay and finish that FOIA request that day regardless. It's not something, you know, a lot of the duties we're taking under in our office, that's that time you need to get stuff done, where if somebody's in, that just extends right over. So then where do you find the time to get those other things done in the day that need to get done, as far as calling people back or?
Yeah, taking ourselves out of the equation for a moment, I'm looking at this and recognizing that I don't know in our township whether we have a preponderance of residents who start their day job at 8 a.m. and start then and leave early and would get out earlier, or whether they would be in at a 9 a.m., at which point the 8 a.m. opportunity to come into Township Hall would be their only option. I kind of like handle it on the way into work. I don't know what that is for the township. I just don't know. I have no touch
It
on that.
varies. It
Yeah.
varies, different
Yeah, it
times of
really
years, different time of the year, how busy we are, what part of the day.
I see,
For me anyways.
sure.
And I think the majority of people that come in and pay their bills, if we put a drop box in the building, I'm not crazy about the drop box out in the parking lot. I've never thought that was a very good idea, although people use it.
I've
I
used
think
it.
it would be much more secure to have payments that go directly into the treasurer's office from outside. So I think that would probably solve the problem for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think we're going to keep the other box though, too.
Well,
Yeah.
that way
I mean,
people can
it kind
drive
of-
up if they want to do that.
Yeah.
Not
kind
get
of
out of their car.
You
defeats the
pull up with
profit.
your car on that one.
You still got to get out of the car.
Yeah. So,
I just would like to say also that my opinion is that, it's my understanding that a lot of the communities, including the county, are not open 9 to 5. A lot of townships have hours that are not open 9 to 5. So it's not like we're setting a precedence here that this is, you know, I mean, this works in other communities. I don't see a problem why it wouldn't work here, you know. So I just wanted to make that point that this is not something that we're standing out on an island here saying
Doing
that,
the only
you know,
thing.
we're the only ones doing something like this,
Right.
you know, because it works in other areas.
You said on the language, except when recorded by law, excluding township and Oscoda recognized holidays, should we and/or unforeseen events? Power goes out.
We have a generator.
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
Unfortunately, we have a generator.
If that works.
Yeah,
Bad
right.
weather, something happens.
They don't give us that excuse in
We've had a
Oscoda.
couple of snow days last year, and there seemed to be an uproar when we shut down Township Hall. I think we should have some language in there, or that's really the superintendent's call.
well, that comes under the classification of
Each office.
an emergency, you know, an act of God that
Right.
Or an
it's
act of God.
it's not safe for our employees, to be out on the road.
Yeah, just so it's added in.
Would be agreeable to after holidays add and/or an act of God,
And/or an act of God?
Acts of God.
something like that.
Well, that covers our winter snow, so that's kind of what it is. It's nothing, or it is an act of God, and then I
Right,
gotta go
yeah, we
shovel.
have those on sometimes.
Well, or it could be the summertime, you have a tornado comes through. I mean, it could be a lot of
There you go. Any
Bad
any
things.
Like the last
natural.
tornado
a lot of bad things that can happen.
And also, I'd just like to point out that in doing this, we're trying it during the slow time of the year. And we can tweak and adjust it if we see
I was gonna
fit.
say-
Did you just say the
Taxes in
slow time of the year? That's a joke.
Oh,
Really?
sorry, my
I'm just
personable people.
I am just gearing up,
This
buddy.
is phone calls and emails from my people who are down south already telling me how great it is and asking when the next election is.
Right, and I know I asked this during our policy meeting, but I mean, if it's really, I mean, if people are really upset about it, it also can be revisited.
It can't.
Right.
Okay.
We aren't going to carve this in stone
Right.
anywhere, so if it doesn't work out, we can always change it. So do I have a motion?
Yeah, let me ask you a question then, on that exact thought there, Bill, before you jump to the motion question. So does that mean you're proposing possibly a pilot period?
No, this is,
Oh, we put
we're,
it in, and as like Jamie said, if we're getting a lot of grief or we're finding our citizens do need that 8 o'clock or in the afternoon, that's something we're revisit and adjust our time.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm suggesting it with the pilot viewpoint, that, you know, put it in for X amount of time, let's say X months, whatever, and then it forces us to have to revisit it as a board and then ratify it permanently, or more, is that was my thought. That way there, you get that opportunity to see if it's gonna be acceptable, and if it's not, we can bring the feedback back to the board. So, just a thought.
I think that we should just try it out the way it is adding the statement for emergency situations.
if it
If
doesn't work out,
we can readdress it.
we can revisit. So, does anybody have a motion? I will make a motion. Move to approve the new hours of operation for the Township Hall policy as presented.
We do that starting on the 27th to test it out.
When are we starting?
November 27th. I'm trying to keep in step with payroll.
Why do you say to test it out? It's not being in a test period.
Well, as we're, well, just to get her going and see how
Got it.
So we're not starting it till when, the 27th? Because people leave already.
Yeah, the 27th,
Okay.
because that's, we're already in another payroll month. I mean, not that it matters, your time's still gonna be in the same, but.
Yeah, it isn't going to affect payroll.
Because we just closed payroll out Saturday, so we're on a new one now. Our next one would pay, so that 27th.
Tammy, will somebody be updating the websites?
Yes, if this is what we're going to do, then it'll be updated everywhere.
Okay.
Mr. Palmer, would you amend your motion to include the words and or after
What was that? I didn't hear it.
Yes, I will amend my motion to approve the new hours of operation for Township Hall policy, and including the phrase acts of God, after holidays, after recognized holidays. And we will make this effective November 27th.
Yes.
Is there support?
Support?
Motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes, I'm sorry, no.
What?
Mr. Wusterbar?
No, mine was a no, sorry.
Yes.
So we used to saying yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Cummings?
No.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next is the amending the, let me get my thing straight. Amendment to the FOIA policy. Mr. Sutton, would you like to explain this, please?
Yes, the amendment to the FOIA policy is just to the charging when we redid it, the previous clerk in 2018. At that time, it was 6 times the minimum wage, and he documented it so, as well as calculated the price at that time, which limits me to charging that amount. Based out of 2018, what I'm asking for is that we would go to 9 times the current minimum wage, which would allow us to calculate it based off the current minimum wage from the updates of FOIA from the Attorney General.
So it would simply be rewriting this on page 5, these last 2 parts
Yes.
of this paragraph here.
Yes, this is what we
removing-
have now, and this is what it would say.
Yeah, we remove the 48.90 and the 6 times state minimum.
Curious, Mr. Sutton, how much of your office time spent on FOIA? You get the
A lot. This year is considerably more. We're at over 120 FOIAs. And just last month, due to the information being requested, a lot of it was legal information, so that had legal review. We didn't have time to total it and separate it when we received the bill today, but looking at it was right around 7,000 on an estimate just for last month's FOIA request. And I believe the last time I had updated that, it was 3,500 when I had updated it to the board before. And then also, as far as people FOIA requesting township emails, official emails, stuff of that nature, that's $160 to IT right per hour to pull those. And then anytime we do legal review, and then currently I haven't been able to ask for anything more than the $48.90 per hour on reimbursement, which is literally adding up to thousands of dollars taxpayer money that's getting spent on these FOIA requests, which most are frivolous. So I did include that report under informational, just so everybody could see the FOIA requests that are coming in, who's requesting them, how much, and get an idea of that. I mean, understandably through FOIA, the main point is to get documentation that's out there, so anything, you know, when we have people want something relevant to maybe a special assessment or something we're doing in their area, documentation that we've passed at the board meeting. But the FOIAs I've received this year are mostly asking for board member emails and then attorney emails, which then those have to be reviewed by the attorneys to see what can be put out, what can't, what needs to be redacted. And also I just went through to highlight because I wondered if it was just our board, but I looked through John's files And John averaged about 25 to 32 at tops on FOIA requests per year. And right now, we're pushing almost 130. So taxing on my office and time comes out to right about 5 months of additional time at 40 hours a week on top of elections, accounts payable, and everything else that has to be managed in an office by me and my deputy. So it's a lot.
So even at it increasing to 9 times the minimum wage will not come close to covering our cost if the amount of FOIAs continue at the rate they have been. So
We can't hear you in the audience, Steve. Just so you know, they said we can't hear you at all.
We'll share.
So do we have any other questions, comments on this? Is there a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the amendment to the FOIA policy as presented.
Support.
I have a motion by Mr. Sutton, support by Mr. Taser. Roll call, please.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wurstenbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes. Motion passed. Next is the 2024 Visitor Guide. This is something we look at every year, I think.
So this year it's a little different. They are shrinking the size of, it's now going to be like a visitor's brochure. They're shrinking the size, still going to give us the back page at a cost of $2,100. It's smaller but more cost effective, and we'll get twice as many copies, which previously we were paying $2,545 for that ad. So we have a small savings for a smaller guide. So I will need approval of this ad.
But we'll be able to keep the back cover, which I believe we've always had, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And it's slightly cheaper than in the past. Any questions? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the 2024 Visitor's Guide.
Support? Sutton?
Motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wurstenbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't hear Tim's response. Did he say yes
Yes,
or no?
I
Yes,
did.
okay. Next up is the 2024 herbicide RFP. We wanted to get this out. This is a request of Vila that we try and get this applicator process out early so we can get them in and they get their permits so that it doesn't disrupt the time when they do the applications at the lake. I think this is a standard RFP that we've used in the past.
Yes, this one was created by current attorney.
I'm sorry, by,
This was created by our current attorney.
yes.
The only addition we'll be making is the 3 years you're
Yes.
requesting.
Yeah, Vila's
3 years
requested,
instead of 1.
Yeah, that we have the applicator time correlate with the lake manager time. So they have 3 years left on the manager's contract, so this will be for 3 years as well.
I have a question about that, like,
It's better than your lake. How's that?
the way it's run and managed, I totally agree with you.
Oh, that's funny.
In some of the communication coming from the counties and their attorney, as we're getting ready for the public hearing, can everybody hear me? Sorry.
Nope.
No? Jim, can I borrow your mic?
Sure, I don't even know if mine's working.
Close to it.
Hello? Hello? Nope. Mine's not working either.
I'll just speak loudly.
Yep.
Anyway, I have a question about this because this is going to come up at the next board meeting where we're having the public hearing on, say, the dissolution of the Cedar Lake Improvement Board. And some of the emails, and I know Jamie has received, everybody on the board's received emails from Ms. Carruthers from Oscoda County and probably a few emails from Alcona County. They're stating pretty adamantly that if we dissolve the Cedar Lake Improvement Board, there is no way to spend sad money, public money towards lake management unless you have a government-approved lake board. Well, Manhattan does not have a government-approved lake board as it's done by privately, and Oscoda Township manages the RFPs for those services and collecting of taxes. So if the county is correct in sending me that language and this board, it seems to me that we're in violation, possibly, on the way we're doing Van Lake. In fact, we're not allowed to collect and spend money on those services unless they have a convened lake board. So
No, I don't
I'm just trying to put things together here.
I don't think that's
Well, I
correct.
have an
Go
answer
ahead.
to that.
Ms. McGuire will know more about
Yeah,
this.
I have an answer for that. It's because that Cedar Lake is within 2 different townships, that's why. And Oscoda and Benetton Lake is not.
That's not the language that's been received. I appreciate it before the next meeting, if you could review
I
that
thought that
language.
she actually sent it to all of us.
Yeah,
recently.
Yeah, the language is specifically, if you don't have a lake board, doesn't matter if you're in one county or 2 counties. The way I'm reading what she is sending, and Alcona, they're kind of backdooring the same thing, is you're not allowed to do this. And the message to me is you're going to shut down the whole lake if you proceed with this process. So how do we do Van Etten without a lake board that's not set up by resolution of the county?
I know it has something to do with the 2 townships, that's all I know, and 2 counties. So it's 2 different counties.
But we'll have that discussion next week.
And I believe the Oscoda Township has the ability to set up a special assessment district, which we
Correct.
did
Which
for
we did.
Van Etten Lake.
But the language is, from what she has sent, that both counties have sent, and I think everybody on this board has received the same communication that I have. Unless you have the state of Michigan approved lake board, which is initiated by the county, does not matter if it's in 1 county, 2 county, 1 township, 2 townships, you're not allowed to do this. So I'd appreciate, because we're going to have this hearing in 2 weeks, and that's one of the items that I'm going to bring up, is I would love to see Cedar Lake run like Van Etten is. The only difference is we have 2 townships involved, and 2 counties, instead of 1 township, 1 county. So, just food for thought for a little prep for 2 weeks.
Question, Steve, so is that the reason why the Cedar Lake Authority would actually exist, because of the complexity, you say? I mean, is that a valid reason to keep it because of that? It would manage that, because then you have an entity.
The issue with Cedar Lake is from inception, from 2005, the oversight hasn't been there.
Right,
Okay?
understood.
And legally, they have spent funds outside of the SAD district.
Totally right, and I get all the points on that, I understand. But what I'm saying is that, does it at all help that community, that area, those residents of that lake, to have this entity there to collect that tax money from these different
Could we
government-
get back at the
Sorry to
case
go
at
off.
hand here? This is,
Yeah.
we need to
Skip to the
approve going out for an RFP for the herbicide applicator.
I'll make a
and-
motion that we do that.
Support?
Can you please add the 3 years?
Oh, change it for a 3-year
Yes.
contract.
To a 3-year
Yes.
contract.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
I'll amend my
Thank you.
motion. Thank you for interjecting.
yes. So we have a motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wurstabarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next is the request from the utility department for a bad debt write-off.
So, Ms. Bevan is requesting, sorry, I'm just pushing it back up there. She is requesting bad debt write-off in regards to this property due to the fact that it was sold at state auction. And when properties are sold at state auction, you cannot collect on utility bills after that has happened. So she is
And this is-
requesting the write-off.
This was during when our office hours were from 8 to 5, and they did not come in and pay the bill.
Well, they lost their home to a tax, well, it was sold at tax collection at an auction, yes.
Yes.
So,
So we have to do this periodically. We have these bad debt write-offs that we have to take action on. Is there any questions, or, I mean, these are pretty clear cut. Sadly, we have to do these occasionally, but,
just as a side note, we have had far less in the last few years, so.
yeah. Is there a motion? I'll make a motion to approve writing off of the bad debt for service at 6215 Cedar Lake Road in the amount of $240.16.
Support, Cummings.
We have a motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Cummings. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Worcester?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next is the winter newsletter.
So, my assistant had a couple of changes requested from the treasurer's office. Ms. McGuire gave her some pointers. So I believe one of those was to add a fire truck under from the fire department section.
Yeah, where that little hole was there in the page, thought maybe put some kind of a little picture or something in there.
Which is great.
And the other
That's a
one's
great
just
idea.
grammar.
Yep, and that was in the assessing and consulting section, correct?
Where's
where
the
it was?
hole that you want?
Okay.
Keep going. Other page, first page.
Which page?
Yeah, right there.
Oh, right there, yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Oh, under the fire department, sure.
Hey.
Yeah,
It's
good idea.
odd, this is the first year Chief McGregor has provided information from the newsletter, so I was quite proud of her for
Right?
getting that.
Hallelujah.
And then you had some,
Just a grammar.
Grammar.
Just, yeah, I gave it to Tara earlier. We don't
Okay.
need to hash that over.
I-
They might have a group picture.
Group picture of these,
Yeah,
5.
that'd be nice.
I thought it was very good. It has a lot of information.
I'm just gonna tell you we're on a time crunch, so let's not mess around with that. Let's
Yep.
sand.
Okay. You have a motion.
Yeah, I have one question addition. So would we also add to this somewhere the motion that we just made earlier about the change in business hours for the township
Oh, yeah.
hall? It's
Great
missing
idea.
entirely.
Good idea.
And I'm fine that if you have to rearrange something to make room, that's fine. It looks like it would go on the first page somewhere, but yeah.
Is there a motion? Are you making a motion to
I'll
that?
make a motion, we approve the 2023 winter newsletter with the mentioned corrections and the addition of the hours.
I support.
We have a motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Cummings. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Worcester?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Let's see, we have next the PC meeting, Planning Commission meeting.
Sorry, Bill, I can't hear you.
The Planning Commission meeting
Oh,
was
thank you.
added to the agenda for the,
Was that first or was that the reschedule of the public hearing?
I had the PC meeting first, is numbered.
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to postpone the December 4th planning commission meeting until after the public hearing takes place from the ethics investigation.
Support.
Mr. Sutton, did you get that motion?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Worcester, support by Mr. Taser. Roll call, please.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
No.
Mr. Cummings?
No.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Palmer?
Yes. Motion passed. Next is the postponing the public hearing.
So it was my understanding when I emailed Ms. Klein about this, that it was that we miscounted the number of days that was needed for the 15-day notice, correct? Is that, so we need to postpone to something after the 27th? That would give us, only 27th is only 14 days. It's my understanding.
Jamie, could you give us the explanation as you?
Well, this was, I have to say, this is my fault, because I requested a special meeting for last Thursday because I thought we would have enough time to get it in. It was 15 days, and I thought that would give us enough time to get it in by the 27th. What I failed to take into account is that the 15 days starts when it's first advertised in the newspaper.
Right.
And since our newspaper only publishes once a week, the earliest it could be in there would be the 15th, which then 15 days would put it to November 30th, which would be after the next board meeting, which was why I had wanted the special meeting, so that we could possibly get this on the next. I failed to realize that the time frame that was involved with, that it's required from the time that it's published. So that's my fault.
Thank you. And what is the deadline for submission for the paper?
Friday, I believe. Friday? Is it?
Friday.
Noon on Friday?
Friday at noon. Unless there's a holiday, then it's, would be, so like next week would be Wednesday at noon.
So, since we were closed last Friday, it probably didn't get sent in last Friday?
It did. I
Okay.
was contacted by the attorney, and she said that it needed a full 15 days. That's where it was pointed out that because the paper didn't come out till Wednesday, that we wouldn't have, we
Right.
would be 1 day short.
Yes.
So I had Ms. Lyons cancel the advertisement, so.
So given when we're prepared to submit this again, when would the new date need to be?
So wait a minute.
Mr. Sutton has that information.
December 8th if we post in the next edition.
Okay, so that's on a Friday, all right. Okay.
That's turning it in this Friday and coming out on the following Wednesday?
Yes.
Okay.
And holidays don't count, correct? Because it's Thanksgiving on the 23rd.
Yes, it counts. It's
It's calendar
days,
Yeah,
it's
it's
calendar
just calendar
days,
days.
yes.
Delay or
No,
cause
no.
a problem?
No.
You. That's okay, all right.
So, Mr. Wisbarth, you made this, added this to the agenda. Do you want to make a motion for the public hearing for December 8th? Now, before we do that, we have to,
He's available.
he is available.
Mr. Sutton informed me that he was today.
Okay. I was just questioning whether our attorney would be available. I know he was,
Not available that week because they sent the board an email in July stating our vacation schedule.
okay. I think we can still hold the meeting if you're not here. Our concern was whether or not our attorney would be able to be here. And I think as long as the attorney can be here, that's the important part. So is there a motion to set the public hearing for December 8th? I will make a motion to schedule the public hearing for December 8th.
Is that our only meeting in December?
On the 11th? Yes.
Yeah.
December 11th is our only meeting,
So
regular meeting.
Or if we could combine it with that meeting?
Do you want
Yeah,
to?
why would we have the public hearing on a different day?
Yeah, we can have it at the regular, that
That
regular
would be
board
that
meeting.
following Monday.
I thought, I was asking why we were having the public hearing on a different day.
As long as Mark's available.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I got you.
That would be the only
Okay.
part I could see that didn't work. So, but that would be a better idea.
I mean, I know our agenda's probably going to be pretty busy with the budget and all that stuff. What's
So-
one more?
So,
We'll bring donuts. It'll be fun.
I'll revise my motion to have the public hearing on December 11th,
Yeah, Monday.
unless the attorney is not available, and then it would be on December 8th, which he is available,
Okay.
correct?
So perfect. Friday?
Okay. Is there support?
Support.
I have a motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Worcester?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. That concludes our business. Next is public comment. If anyone has a public comment, if you would come up to the mic and please state your name. No public comment? All right. Then we will go to board comment. Ms.
I'll go
McGuire.
first. Okay. December, the winter tax bills are complete. I've been able to balance with the county and with the assessor's office. So they are ready to be distributed. I'm printing lots of them today and tomorrow. Just be aware when your tax bill comes out, in the top, when you're looking at it in the top right-hand corner, the return address is there, and just below that is a little space. And it's a little reminder there, if you forgot to pay your summer taxes, it'll say summer taxes owing. Just take a look up there just to make sure. Also, in the message to taxpayer on the left-hand side in the top corner, all the bills kind of look alike, and I have people that have automatic deduction, so that'll tell you that, hey, this is not a bill, keep it for your records, because your mortgage company has requested your bill. I also have ACH, the payments that automatically come out, so that's there. And then our regular bills, it'll say greetings and, let you know the different options for payment and what days we will be closed for the holidays. And always our phone number's on there, so you can give us a call. That's it.
Okay, thank you. I know everybody will be excited
I
that
know,
you've got
Merry
the tax
Christmas,
bills
right?
out. That's always a good time. Mr. Taser.
Yeah, first I would like to, I noticed Chief Boland back there in the back corner. I appreciate him coming to a Board of Trustees meeting. That's unusual to see our police chief, and I hope you can attend more of these. I like seeing your face here. And I would also like to say, because of the Thanksgiving holiday that's coming forward, I want to wish everyone a joyous Thanksgiving coming forward. And I want to acknowledge that this is the first time in about 5 decades that I am looking forward to watching the Lions game, knowing that the Detroit Lions are in the run for it.
Yay!
Yes.
So I just wanted to acknowledge that fact right there. So that's basically what I wanted to say.
All right, Mr. Wistbarth.
My only comments is this board, as of this meeting, is in its last year. So I would encourage everybody at this time next year, I think on November 13th would be the first meeting, so the township will have a new board. And I would encourage everyone who's interested in running for office to please consider it through the holidays and get your paperwork into the state of Michigan so you can be on the primary ballots in spring. And I'm not sure what that date is, but I believe it's sometime in March. Correct, John?
April.
April.
Yep, and their first meeting will actually be after the 20th of November when they take office.
So please consider running, and I'd really like to see a lot of people on the ballots and primaries. Thank you.
Mr. Sutton.
I would just like to wish everybody a safe and happy Thanksgiving, and I hope that everybody takes the time after the last few years and all the fun of pandemics and everything else to reach out to your family members, people in the community, people you know who don't have anybody. There's a lot of people in our community. I look forward to this time of year every year. Just amazing things to be done reaching out to those people. So remember to be thankful for this community, for the people in it, and spread that throughout the next 2 months. That would be phenomenal.
Yes. Mr. Cummings?
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Nothing further.
And I would just echo that. I wish everybody a happy and safe Thanksgiving. Again, I want to apologize for a misstatement in that last meeting about resurfacing Bissonnet Road. I hope we didn't get too many people out there excited about getting their road repaved. But if you get a chance, go on the airport and drive down the perimeter road. It is fantastic. They did a beautiful job of, and it was in bad shape. I ride a bike over there and it was rough. So I take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.